Some 40 to 70% of mothers who have children with autism believe that their child was injured by a vaccine. President Trump believes that we should be listening to these mothers instead of gaslighting and marginalizing them like prior administrations. Some of our friends like to say that we should believe all women. Some of these same people have been silencing and demonizing these mothers for 3 decades because research on the potential link between autism and vaccines has been actively suppressed in the past.
But did you hear a political figure last week saying that Charlie Kirk was ignorant because he didn't have a college degree? I've seen him run circles around people with college degrees.
888-971-SAGE, 888-971-7243, Larry Elder, Salem News Channel. My next guest is the former Secretary of HUD, former head of pediatric neurology at Johns Hopkins. He and I have at least 3 things in common. First, we're both incredible sex symbols who happen to be black. Secondly, we co-founded a bank called Old Glory Bank to deal with the phenomenon of debanking, a phenomenon that Tim Scott held hearings on. And we both ran for president, although his candidacy did a little better than mine. Please welcome to the program, Dr. Ben Carson.
Wonderful to be with you.
Doctor, thank you very much for taking the time. Now, you may not remember this, but you and I talked shortly after President Trump became President Trump 47, and I asked you whether or not you're going to rejoin the administration. You said, absolutely not. You're happy doing what you're doing. You've got your foundation, your think tank, and you have 0 plans to join the administration. What happened?
Well, I still have all of those things that I mentioned. I just added to it another job as a special government employee, which means I don't have to give up all the things that I'm doing. I don't know where I'm going to fit it in. The schedule's already very busy, but such an important issue because nutrition, the way that we process food or the way that we shouldn't process food, the way that we get it from the farm to the table, all of these things are so important. And the encouraging thing is that a lot of the food companies are coming to the table to talk. You probably heard a few weeks ago, Kellogg's is coming to the table. They're going to abandon some of their food coloring processes and substitute more healthy alternatives. So I think we're going to make real progress. And one of the things that really impresses me is one of my very best friends has diabetes. And he's been in Italy for the last 2 months, and the diabetes has disappeared.
Your title is National Advisor for Nutrition, Health, and Housing under the Secretary of Agriculture. What exactly are you going to do?
Going to be looking at all the things that impact the way that people eat, the kinds of foods that they eat. And, one particular goal of mine is to make sure that the people who are on food stamps, the SNAP program, have healthy alternatives. Right now, they only have like 12 things that are okay. We've increased that to 28 things that will be on the shelf now, and remove some of the things that are empty calories that are leading to obesity and really nutritional starvation.
Dr. Carson, do you believe that there is a health crisis in America?
Well, all you have to do is look at the life expectancies. They were going up nicely for decades. The last few years, ours has been going down. And that tells you that there's a real problem. When you consider the fact that at least a third of people have some type of chronic medical condition, that's very abnormal. And we have kind of been like the person that you knew in high school who was nice and trim, and then you see him 20 years later and, fat and sloppy and having difficulty breathing, and everything you can imagine is going on. A lot of that has to do with how you take care of yourself. And I've said for a very long time, if you eat 3 well-balanced, nutritious meals a day, drink 6 to 8 glasses of water, get regular sleep and exercise, and don't put harmful things in your body, most people in medicine will be looking for a job.
Dr. Carson, RFK Jr. has been criticized for his vaccine skepticism. He's not a doctor. You are. Should we be skeptical about vaccines?
Most of the vaccines have been well researched and followed for a long time, and we know that they're safe. What we don't know is when you give them close together, whether that has a long-term effect. So some of the schedules that they put the babies on, it's ridiculous, the amount of vaccines you're giving them. And that's a great load upon the immune system of that child. I think we really need to be doing some long-range research on how we should schedule those vaccines. And some of them are discretionary. They really aren't critical, but many of them are. You have to recognize that the reason that we can live in a relatively crowded society and not all die of something is because most of us have immunity to the kinds of things that would cause a lot of havoc.
Dr. Carson, is there a connection between women who are pregnant who take Tylenol and autism? Well,
we haven't dotted all the I's and crossed all the T's, but there have been a lot of studies. People think this is something of recent origin. There have been studies, long-range studies done at Johns Hopkins, done at Sinai in New York, Boston, and they've all concluded the same thing, that there appears to be an increased risk of ADHD and autism. And, you know, be objective and look at the fact that a few decades ago, 1 to 4 in 10,000 were diagnosed with autism spectrum disease. And now we're down to 1 in 31. That is a gigantic difference. That something has caused that. And we would do well to continue researching, but this seems to be a repeated pattern that's brought out. So, and the people who are complaining about this, if this was not revealed to them, later on they'd be saying, "Why didn't you tell us? You should have told us." Mm-hmm. So sometimes you can't satisfy people no matter what you do.
Dr. Carson, we have about 45 seconds left. Tell us about the nonprofit, the foundation, the think tank that you're involved in, and how can people get involved?
The American Cornerstone Institute looks at those cornerstone principles that were essential to our rise from nothing to the pinnacle of the world: our faith, liberty, community, and respect for life. And we have a Little Patriots program. And all you have to do is go to AmericanCornerstone.org. There's a whole list of different things there. Some of them are very entertaining. Like we have My American Story. We interview people who came from Marxist countries, and they tell us what we should be looking for, what we should be worried about in our country.
Dr. Ben Carson, Dr. Carson, thank you very much for taking the time. We appreciate it.
Thank you for what you do and for being a patriot.
You got it. God bless.